Welcome to this second day of our conference. My name is Werner Lutsch, and I am the managing director of the German District Heating Association, as well as the vice president of Euroheat and Power. And I have the pleasure and, of course, also the honor to accompany you during this first session this morning. I hope you're all well and you enjoyed the yesterday's evening reception, which I think was great. So let's thank the organization team on this stage for their great job, and let's give them an applause. Many thanks also to the Estonian Association and their representatives letting this happen or inviting us to this great event yesterday evening to this very interesting location. And while mentioning the Estonian Association, Power and Heat, I'd like to invite you all now to stand up and remember. Let's have 1 minute in which we want to remember our dear colleague Anneli Reidla, who was killed in a car accident this winter, this February. So in memory of Anneli, I ask you for 1 minute silence. Thank you. You may sit down again. So let's come back to our main task here, to talking about district heating and cooling and CHP, and about the momentum we have, and Frederick talked about yesterday. I think we should make use of it. Our session today has the title District Heating and Cooling in National Energy Plans. Yesterday we focused on cities. Today we want to give a little bit a broader picture regarding to, or looking at the different countries. We want to talk about sustainable heating supply and the strategies in these different countries and are having. And let's talk about, I think, the bright or huge development of the district heating, which the district heating will take, hopefully. Therefore, we have 4 experts here from 4 different countries with 4 examples. We will have a look at, let's say, 3 countries which a huge development potential in district heating, having at the moment just 5 to 6% district heating, and let's say 1 mature market with already more than 50% district heating. And let me introduce to you the team here on the desk. And I will start with the ladies, and on my right-hand side is Ulrika Jardfelt. She is the managing director of the Swedish District Heating Association and member of the board of Euroheat and Power. Ulrika. Julie Purdue, she's the Secretary General of SNCU, which is the National Association for District Heating and Cooling in France. And she's also part of FEDENE, the French Association for Energy Services and Environment. Julie. Then Lorenzo Spadoni, he is Vice President of the Italian District Heating Association, IRU, and District Heating Development and Operation Manager at A2A, Calore e Servizi in Italy, and he is also a member of the Euroheat and Power Board. And last not least, Tim Rotheray, Managing Director of the UK Association for Decentralised Energy, ADE, dealing with district heating and CHP. Well, he's also member of the Euroheat and Power Board, and he will start with his presentation this morning because he has the longest distance to walk, I think, or in at the present, as we have learned yesterday, because the UK in district heating spoken is Stone Age. Regarding also efficient heat supply, so Tim, the floor is yours, and I'm really interested how you come from the Stone Age to today's world. Yeah. So, please.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much, Werner, for your kind introduction. I'm going to take this back that we're in the Stone Age. I think this is going to go down really well with our members to tell them that we're in the Stone Age. I haven't got a picture of the Flintstones. I was going to put a picture of the Flintstones up. So I got this title through. Someone said, "Oh, can you talk about mobilizing local communities?" And I sort of sat down and I thought, well, what have we done in the UK about mobilizing local communities with our approximately 2% district heating? And if I'm really honest, and don't tell the journalist this, if I'm really honest, I think that the mobilization that we've seen in communities in district heating in the UK is when they're all so annoyed with their heat bills that they all get together and complain about them. And that is about the extent of mobilizing local communities that we've seen. So I'm going to talk more about what I think we need to do so that the communities and the users of district heating that are involved in the future, as we have our grand plans, this long walk to the digital age, of what we need to do to get consumers where we need them to be. So here's just a little bit of context for you. So the circle, the whole donut, represents greenhouse gas emissions in the UK. The red bit is all of the greenhouse gas emissions that arise from heat. The bit in green is all of the greenhouse gas emissions that arise from, in the green box, that arise from industry, and all of the rest is what comes from buildings, which is what I'm going to talk about. If you look, I'm dreadful at this kind of thing because I'm a wanderer. I hate being stuck to a lectern, and I've got microphones here, so I'm going to try and talk. But if I walk away, we have a microphone. Can we get this microphone on, please? It's on? It's on? Good. Right. Apologies to those of you over there, but I can only do this with one of them. So this is buildings. The pink here, that is space heating, and this yellow here is hot water, and this is cooling. And then this is the fuel source right at the outside. So if it's that kind of green-blue colour, that's gas. And if it's blue, it's electricity. If it's black, it's oil. And right at the very top, right up here, you can see, right at this bit here, 1 million tonnes of oil equivalent at the very top. That's heat sales, sold as heat. So that's what we have in the UK. So not very much district heating. And so, well, where's it happening? On the left, this is an old system. This system was built in the 1950s. This is called Pimlico District Heating Undertaking. And it was built to deal with London smog. The reason it was built was because London was suffocating under pollution. And Battersea Power Station, which you can see on the image, the other image. So this image on my top right, yeah, your top right. That's Battersea Power Station. That's just opposite on the other side. When the designers built these buildings down here, they said, hang on, we cannot put coal boilers in every building. We could take heat from Battersea Power Station on the other side of the river. And so there is a pipe that goes underneath the Thames. And when Battersea Power Station was running, it had a small amount of heat offtake to heat those 3,000 homes. And this is this big 1950s heat storage tank, it's 2,500 ton hot water tank. So that was why that was built. So they were mainly built in the 1950s, 60s and 70s, a small amount by local authorities, and they generally have a bad reputation. The new district heating market in the minute is driven by planning. So if you want to build a building in the UK and you want to comply with the requirements of reducing the emissions of the building, then one of the cheapest ways to do it is to put a heat network in. It's really important. That's one of the cheapest ways to do it. So this is the Battersea Power Station redevelopment, huge redevelopment, millions and millions of pounds are being spent. And that will be on a heat network. That will be several thousand homes and offices and buildings all on a heat network, and it's part of a much wider scheme. Down at the bottom, this is Graylingwell Park, a new development down in the south of England. So that's why it's being done. But the really important thing is that it's being done as a way of complying with regulations, and it's being developers are being obliged to do it. So they're somewhat reluctant. So that's where we are. Now, where are we going in the future? Well, the future of district heating, when you really look at it, we're seeing just across the whole piece in the UK, and I think across Europe as well, we're seeing a trend for a greater interest in local activity and decentralisation. And we're seeing that at the local authority level. So in the UK, local authorities are being given often some more powers to do things. Obviously, some of you might be aware of the Scottish referendum, and Scotland is going to win more powers as a result of the referendum on its independence. And local authorities realised that in the 1950s, they used to get 45% of their revenue from energy sales, and now they get almost none. And local authorities are now thinking about, we could make money out of this. We're in austerity. We have no sources of income. So they're looking at building district heating and supplying electricity. And the thing that's really interesting is that district heating is one of those things. It's a bit like almost all energy efficiency. It does lots of little things well, but it does no one thing. So it does something for cutting emissions. It does something for improving security of supply. It does something for reducing cost. But a local authority in a local area can see all of those benefits, and so they can pull together the social aspect, their desire for local control, their desire for economic regeneration, or making use of local features such as industry, and their local sustainability plans, and they're pulling all of those together to create the case for building district heating, because district heating on its own is not really economic in the UK. So that's where we come from. But which is a consumer group. They just produced a report called Turning Up the Heat, Getting a Fair Deal for District Heating Users. And they interviewed lots of people on district heating. And there are some good stories. You know, you don't have to worry about breakdown and repairs. It's all included. But there are some bad things. Here's it. Great in theory, but when it comes to the consumer time of things, it lacks big time. I feel very vulnerable. The district heating supplier can take advantage of the lack of regulation. So there's definitely, and we're getting this, especially people are moving into these high-end apartments in places like London, and then they're finding that they have a standing charge, which no one knows how it's created, of maybe £1 a day, so €1.30 a day. So before they've even used any heat, they have a €400 annual bill for a super new, highly efficient apartment, and the householders are not happy about it. So if you compare UK is dominated by single gas boilers. These are the kind of things. So look, in gas, you have a standard bill. Everyone's bill is made up in broadly the same way. And importantly, it always contains the same elements. So it contains the cost of gas, the cost of transporting it, of distributing it, and maybe some policy costs. But it always contains the same costs, and then, of course, the profit of the company. The unit prices of gas are low, and people can find them out. People know that gas is 4 or 5 pence a kilowatt hour. You can switch, and you can save a lot of money if you switch energy supplier. If you have never switched energy supplier, and you switch energy supplier, you might save £200, so what's that, €250 a year. It's a big saving. If you're on district heating, you might be locked into a 40, even 80-year concession. You have no ability to switch supplier, and you are being told by all the politicians that the way to control your energy bill is to switch. That's an issue. And in gas, there is an independent complaints procedure. I'm not happy with the person that's providing my energy, and I can complain, and it doesn't cost me any money. And in district heating, you go to the company and you complain, and the complaint has to be dealt with internally. There's no process. Now, that's great if the company really is determined to get its consumer satisfaction right, but if they're not determined to get it right, then you get frustrated customers, and we get emails from customers saying, can you help sort this out? We're not happy. So if we're going to go from our Stone Age 1% to 15%, and 15% would be huge, we'd become a massive district heating market. Being in the UK, we're aware of all of these companies outside of the UK who are looking at the UK, sort of waiting to pounce and to take advantage of all of this profit that's going to be made, which is great. It's great. We welcome you. But if that's going to happen, the thing that has to sit at the heart of this is trust. Customers have got to trust suppliers. And right now, it's a mixed picture. Some love it, but some really don't. So what have we got to do? What are the kind of key elements? The price has got to be competitive. It might be green, it might be the future, but if it's more expensive than what I currently pay, it's no good. We've got to find a way of making sure that the price is competitive. And it's got to be competitive against gas. Even if gas is not zero carbon, that's what we're all used to. Every house has got a gas boiler. It's got to be transparent. And at this transparency point, from a UK perspective, I think we have a long way to go. The other utilities, electricity, water and gas, were set up, kind of somewhere between 50 and 100 years ago. And consumers were much less demanding. But now consumers are very, very demanding, and they can find out all kinds of answers to all kinds of questions like that. And we are starting as effectively a new technology, a new utility in the UK. So the transparency question, customers want to know or want to be able to find out exactly where all of the different costs come from and why there's this arrangement. Why can't I switch supplier? Why is it a 40-year agreement? They need to understand that, and we've got to get much, much better at communicating. We have got to engage the consumer, and we've got to do it. We've got to talk in ways they understand. Customers don't understand what a kilowatt hour is. They don't understand what it is, but they do understand their annual heat bill. They do understand it costs me £50 a month to heat my home. And we've got to find a way of resolving complaints. So what are we doing as an organisation? Well, we're starting a journey. It's a terrifying journey. Maybe you'll see me in a year's time and I'll have lost more hair and maybe I'll be going grey. So what we're doing is we've looked at the gas market and the electricity market in the UK, and we said, well, what are the regulations? What if you have the license, because in the UK it's licensed, if you have a license to supply gas, what do you have to do? So for example, if someone's gas supply is cut for 24 hours, immediately those customers have the right to claim compensation. So we said district heating needs to be the same. If you get your bill and your bill is clearly wrong, someone hadn't read the meter when they started and your bill is twice as much as it should be, and you complain, and the district heating company says, that's fine, it's not a problem, you're wrong, we're right, and you're still not happy, and you still don't feel like it's been resolved, in the gas and electricity world, you can complain, and you can complain for free, it costs you nothing, and you can get redress up to £10,000. So we're saying the same needs to happen in district heating. You can switch your electricity supply, okay? You can't switch in district heating, but maybe we should be able to compare prices. So we're going to build we built a price comparator, and this thing on transparency. Your bills, the bills in gas and electricity aren't perfect, but they are better than they are in heating, because we're learning. It's not the company's fault. We're very much learning. So they're the things that we're doing, and the way we're doing it is this new organisation. We've called it Heat Trust, that is all about trying to do industry regulation for district heating. So trying to give something that's comparable. And it's been a huge amount of work. We've been working on it for 2 years. We've got an amazing woman in our office called Amy, who is drowning under piles of paper and legal documents to try and make sure this works. And we'll be launching that later this year. And if we come to questions, I'm happy to talk to you about it in detail. There's a lot of detail. So that's one thing. And the other thing that we're doing, and Hannah, my colleague down here, has been working on it, which is standards for district heating. So we've looked across the world at all the different standards that exist, and from our own engineers in the UK, and written standards of how district heating should be built. That's the first step. But the longer term, the next steps that we need to take, look, we think like this. We drew this picture for our manifesto. Some of you might be aware we're having a general election. And we think that the electricity system's designed like this. You start with the power station, and then there's a consumer somewhere off in the distance. We think that we have to turn the whole thing round, and you've got to start building from the user's perspective. You have to do everything. I put up a dreadful image of a smartphone there, because all of you, or most of you in the room, will have a smartphone, and some of you will have exactly the same model, but your model of smartphone will be different. Even though if it's the same model, it will not be the same smartphone as someone with the same model, because you will have personalized it. You will have made it apps that work for you. Nest is a really, really good example of that, this idea of me being able to have control of my energy. So in district heating, we're doing quite a lot of work to see how we can give users more control and more access to information. The user it's not just got to be an idea. We actually have to believe that the user really, really matters. And actually, the more naturally monopolistic district heating is, the more it matters that the consumer's at the heart of it. So this is my last slide, because I probably need to finish up. So how are we going to do it? You know, there's the ideas. Well, we need a policy and regulatory framework. District heating in the UK is going into new build, that's great, but really district heating in the UK is going to deliver most being retrofitted into city centres where it's hard to treat buildings, where insulation is very, very expensive. And the problem is that a company has a gas network down that road, and that gas network has a guaranteed rate of return. They've told the regulator, I would like to build this network, and the regulator says, yes, you can raise it off 25 million householders or 20 million householders for gas, and it will guarantee that investment. And district heating has lots of risk associated with it compared to that. So we need a framework. But, and this is a key thing, for any of you that come and get involved in the UK and look at the UK as a market opportunity, it must be culturally relevant. The UK has a tradition of quite individualistic policy. Our regulator for prices, or for fair trading, used to be called the Office of Fair Trading. It's now called the Competition and Markets Authority. There's a belief that markets are the solution and competition is the solution. That's quite difficult for district heating. It's quite difficult to have competition in district heating, but we've got to find a way. So the models that we see in Sweden or Denmark or Germany or France, we need to look at them, we need to learn from them, but then we've got to find what works in the UK. And it won't be the same. And trying to make it work the same will fail. We've got to look at some form of competition. Maybe there should be competition for metering and billing. Maybe we need competition for operating energy centres. Maybe we need competition on the larger networks for energy input. is there a possibility for switching? If you think about switching in gas and electricity, you're really switching administrator. The electricity and the gas is the same, but you're switching administrator. Well, maybe you could do that in district heating. We've got to investigate it. We need a central framework. We've got to devolve the policy, and the UK is really bad at devolving policy. We talk about empowering local organisations, and then we centralise everything, and we've got to decentralise it. So that's a really important. And then we've got to allocate risk appropriately. We've got to find a way of taking risk away from the investor and putting it onto either the user or onto the government, in order to ensure that investors can come in, because we have to pull down the cost of capital. The key to getting district heating going in the UK is pulling down the cost of capital. The cost of capital means bringing in those that want secure long-term returns, and that means low risk, and we've got to take the risk away from them. And we have to do this combination of customer protection and investor confidence. We've got to make sure that the two go hand in hand, because actually they are mutually compatible. If customers feel that they're being treated fairly, then investors will feel that it's a good market to invest in. If customers aren't happy, investors will run away, and we've seen that in other parts of the energy system. So that was a quick gallop through the UK and my take on what we've got to do. Thank you very much, and I'll be happy to take questions whenever.
Well, Tim, thanks a lot for the experience you shared with us regarding your country. Now, I would like to ask you to keep your questions for the end of the panel, so we discuss after the presentations. Now, the second presentation is coming from Lorenzo. He will talk about the current Italian energy policy, and he just told me it's not Stone Age, but they also have a lot of history there, and old sites and nice ancient buildings. So, Lorenzo, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, maybe we are not a Stone Age, but we would say we are at the Roman Age, as I try to explain. So, what role for DHC in the current Italian energy policy? So, let me start with some information about the current situation of DHC in Italy. Some figures, not huge figures if compared to the Nordic countries, but you know, we are a sunny country, and most of the systems are in the north. We have 200 systems. Most of them are small or very small systems. The most developed ones are in the city of Torino and Brescia, while Milano has a strong potential to grow. We hit 300 million cubic meter of buildings, equivalent to more or less 1 million flats. And we delivered 9.2 terawatt-hour of heat every year. Mainly are produced by combined heat and power systems, more 54%, mainly fueled by gas. Then we have 22% of waste heat and renewable heat in the system. Some heat from heat pumps, I mean geothermal applications, and then integration boilers. And these are the figures for the contribution to CO2 emissions and energy saving of the system. This is, we are growing, and you can see the historical growing of the heated volume, total heated volume in Italy, starting from 1972, when the Brescia system came in operation for the first time, and till today. Some few words about the DHC market. DHC is not a regulated sector. Today there is a project to build some regulation, but today it is a market, and there is no obligation to connect for customers to connect to a district heating network. We are in competition. We are in competition based on price and quality of service. And we are in competition with a dominant operator, which is a gas operator. Gas is the most used technology to heat up buildings in Italy. And district heating sale price are defined on the basis of the total cost of the traditional heating, I mean gas heating. There is potential to grow for district heating in Italy. These are the results of a study that our association performed recently together with a green association, Legambiente. We see that we can increase the volume up to more than 3 times. And of course, in this way, also increasing our contribution to the targets and to CO2 emission and primary energy saving. Even more is the potential estimated by the first result of the Stratego project. Stratego project has the task of perform a mapping of the heat demand in Europe, and especially in 5 target countries, and Italy is one of the target countries. Here you can see the first result of the heat mapping of the Milan area, and also the waste heat sources mapping in the same area. You can find more information in the project website. But I would like to give you some details about the Milan area. There is a strong potential to grow, and the district heating is developing in Milan. We can increase the penetration. There is a potential up to 4.5 terawatt-hour only in the Milan city, which correspond of 50% of estimated potential of the total Italian district heating, according to the IRO study. This program of developing the district heating in Milan got yesterday a special mention at the district heating District Energy Award, and we are proud of this, and we thank the evaluation panel for that. We have also ideas for further development in Milan area. One issue is to recover heat from big power plants which are quite close to the city. It's technical, there is a technical feasibility for this. It's coherent with regional energy and urban planning, but there is a lack in this moment of political willingness, and we have to discuss with authority how to insert this in a short-term urban planning, and how to find resources, and how to organize the business plan for this. So that's the situation of district heating in Italy. So something about the national energy strategy. The national energy strategy has a key word. The key word is grow. Grow is a priority for Italy, because grow means economical, sustainable growth, job creation, social equity, and reduction of the amount of the public debt, which is one of the main problems of our country. And energy sector is a key factor in economical growth. So cheap energy with limited environmental impact is a crucial condition for development. This is the basis of the national energy strategy. The strategy has 4 tasks, and you can see the first 2. Competitiveness, so cost reduction of the bill cost for the customers. The target is 9 billion euros of saving in 2020. Of course, there are environmental goals which are which you can see there in the green bars. The strategy wants to do something better than 2020 goals of the EU in terms of CO2, renewables, and efficiency. Also, another goal is safety, so reinforce security of supply and reduce dependence on imports. and the goal is to reduce the dependence of 1% of the internal product, and also grow. We expect, the government expects an investment in energy efficiency, renewable energy, within 2020 for an amount of 130 billion euro, more than 70% of the total investment expected in the energy sector. What is the role of the heating sector in this strategy? The strategy recognizes that the heating sector is the most important energy use, both in the civil and in the industrial sector, 45% roughly of the total final energy use. And recognize also that thermal renewables are in general more efficient of electrical renewables in contributing to to reach the goals, and less expensive in terms of euro per tons of CO2 and euro per kilowatt hour of heat of primary energy saved. And in the last years, the thermal renewables development was not bad, but without a stable and dedicated incentivization framework. This could be a problem if we want to reach the best practice in this field. Also, the industry sector, thermal renewables, is quite developed, so it is also an issue to foster the industrial development in a sector where Italy can play a significant role. So the strategy foresee three main intervention in this sector: the so-called thermal account, the Y certificate mechanism, and the activation of a guarantee fund for district heating and cooling. Thermal account is dedicated to incentivize the substitution of old and inefficient heating and cooling systems. It is dedicated to small installations, so it cannot be easily applied to district heating and cooling, except for very small systems, mainly in the mountains, in the Alps region. The Y certificates market is maybe the most important engine to foster development of the heating sector. It's a market. It is based on the fact that electricity and gas distributor has to reach every year specific energy efficiency goal. They are fixed by the authorities and correspond to 6.6 million of equivalent tons of oil equivalent in 2015. How can electricity and gas distributors reach these energy efficiency goals? They can perform projects for energy efficiency, or they can buy projects, I mean Y certificates from the market. And DHC companies can get Y certificates from the authorities, for example, when they connect new customers to the network and when they substitute a less efficient customer heating system with a most efficient DHC supply. A Y certificate corresponds to 1 ton of oil equivalent of primary energy saving, and its value on the market today is around 90 to 100 euro for certificate. Special bonus are foreseen for large energy efficiency projects, which are able to save more than 45,000 of tons of oil equivalent per year, and if they are linked to infrastructure development. Up to now, I have no knowledge that a large energy efficiency project has been issued to authorities to get, but this is an opportunity that we have, and that could be linked to infrastructure development. So it could be interesting for district heating development. In the end, the Guarantee Fund. The Guarantee Fund was established in 2011 and was specific for development of DHC networks. and is financed by a part of the bill paid by gas customers, roughly 50 million euro per year. But the fund never started its operation, and more recently, in 2014, in the framework of the implementation of the ED directive, this guarantee fund was transformed in the National Energy Efficiency Fund, which is not anymore dedicated to district heating, but also to other kinds of projects, of energy efficiency project, I mean. For example, improving energy efficiency in public buildings, social housing, public lighting, energy efficiency in industry. The fund doesn't start its operation so far. We are waiting for operative rules from government, but this is not a good thing for district heating because part of the money is diverted also to other applications. Then also have a look to a more long-term scenario. This is a graph of CO2 reduction. It is the application to Italy of a European roadmap 2050. Implications are increasing in energy efficiency, increase of renewable energy sources in the energy system up to 60% of total final energy use. They foresee also an increase of electricity consumption, and the government considers gas a key factor in energy transition at least to 2045, and also research and development is another issue for a transition to low-carbon technologies. This is another result, looking at the long term, this is another first result, very preliminary result of the Stratego. Stratego has a quite different look in the future, and identify district heating as a key factor for long-term scenario in Italy. And there is potential, according to Stratego, to expand district heating up to 40 to 70% of the heat demand. This is a very, very huge figure, because now we are at 5%, as Werner said, introducing the debate. So, conclusion. Italian DHC is a small but growing reality, and it can play a significant role in achieving the national climate goals, as we have seen. The energy strategy recognizes that the heating sector represents the most important energy use and defined incentivization instruments to foster the development of the sector. But the implementation of this instrument has been carried out in a contradictory way, as we have seen about, for example, the guarantee fund. And this introduces uncertainties for investment for the AC operator. And this is not a good thing, because projects that can be performed are waiting, because rules are not sure, and there is uncertainties in the market. So the risk is not to fully exploit the potential of the district heating sector, and this just in the moment in which, as we heard yesterday, the new European Commission is defining a new European strategy on heat, where district heating and cooling can play a significant role. So we have potential, and we hope in the future. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot, Lorenzo, for giving us an overview about what's happening in Italy, and it's quite interesting, and I have some questions. But before coming to questions, I would like to ask Julie to give us a little bit of information about what's happening in France. And France is also one of the 3 countries which are not that developed in district heating, but they have a huge potential, and maybe you can show us how you can make use of this huge potential in the future. Julie.
Thank you, Werner. Good morning to everybody. Yes, I do think there is a moment at the moment in France, and I'm going to try to show it to you today. So first of all, here's a little overview of district heating and cooling in France. So you've got two maps here. The one with the pink spots is the number of district heating and cooling systems, and the other one in orange shows the heat and cool deliveries. The map is organized by regions, administrative regions. So you see that the two main dots are the area of Paris, and then in the southeast, the area of Lyon. So basically, you've got about 500 district heating networks, and much fewer district cooling networks. The bigger one is Paris, of course, that was mentioned yesterday. Likewise for heating, the main district heating system is Paris. So, can I? So a few figures on the current trend in terms of district heating. So I'm going to show you a few figures based on annual surveys on district heating and cooling systems we carry out every year for the Ministry of Energy. A quite thorough survey on what is happening in terms of deliveries, energy use, the prices as well of each district heating network. So there you've got a diagram which shows the evolution of the energy sources, renewable and recovered energy sources in district heating, and you can see that there's been a quite sharp growth since 2005. Also, in the global fuel mix, you can see in green the steady growth of renewable energies, and in parallel, less fuel, less oil, and less coal, and the first fossil energy used by district heating and cooling is natural gas. What kind of renewable and recovered energy do we use? Today there are three main ones. Waste heat, which is the major one, which is also growing steadily. Geothermal energy, which is about the same, growing slowly as well. But you can see a sharp rise, so it's in green here, in biomass. Since about 2009, there's been more and more and more projects, either in existing or new networks using biomass. Another slide on, this time on the carbon footprint. On the graph on the top, you've got, in fact, the green shows there's a bar for each network. So you've got quite a big distribution of carbon footprint for the different district heating systems. But globally, and that's the graph at the bottom, I mean, globally, the carbon footprint of all district heating networks is slowly decreasing. So that was for the situation in France today. What is the potential? So we have carried out a study, a bit in the similar pattern as the heat roadmap Europe that Euroheat carried out, to try and figure out what was the potential. So globally, we could increase by multiplying factor 6 times heat deliveries in France. And here you've got, again, a map of France divided in these administrative regions with what would be the multiplying factor there. So you can see in some parts it's really huge. So that was carried out last year. So that was, you know, the situation and the elements we used to advocate for the need to develop district heating. And I was talking at the beginning about there is a moment in France, and yes, there is a moment, because at the moment we are discussing the draft energy bill. And it's still under review, and it comprises of all the energy aspects, gas, electricity, heat, and it sets out medium and long-term objectives that are detailed on the slide. So green gas emissions 40% lower by 2030 compared to 1990, reduction of fossil fuels consumption. The point that interests us directly is the share of renewables in final energy consumption, and especially in heat production. So the objective states raised to 38%. You saw in the graphs before that we already reached 40% in district heating. There's also an energy performance target for the housing stock, and the two final bullet points, which are in italics, are the one which still haven't been agreed by the Senate and the National Assembly, so they're still under discussion. And as you know, France is a very nuclear-orientated country, and there's an agreement about reducing the share of nuclear energy in electricity production down to 50%, but the debate on the time frame, when do we reach that objective? And also on the final energy consumption reduction, there's an agreement on the fact that this needs to be achieved by 2050, but some want to put an intermediate target and others don't. So how does this energy bill concern, district heating and cooling? So there are 4 points. The first one stems from the fact that it was never really clear as to, in law, as to who was in charge of public heating and district heating and cooling networks. Now it's going to be stated in the law that it's a responsibility of the local authorities and that it's a public service, likewise water and sanitation. So that's a first point, which was good to just clarify, even if it was obvious for everybody. The second point is planning. Now it's going to be mandatory for district heating networks that were operational in 2009 to draw up a master plan by 2018. Master plan which will have to look into the possibilities of extending the network, densifying it, interconnection between networks. So it's quite a step forward. Then the third point, which is actually, I could have started with that because this is going to be quite a challenge. It's to increase heat and cool deliveries by a 5-fold, renewable heat and cool deliveries by a 5-fold by 2030. And then the last point, which I'll go into more details later, is that the heat fund is going to be maintained and reinforced. So as a conclusion, we could say that this bill, through this bill, district heating and cooling are being recognized as a solution that can boost energy transition. So I told you the energy bill was still not adopted. Still under review. It should be adopted hopefully in July. But the government has already started working on the tools, policy management tools that will stem from this policy. I know this is, we are also a bit surprised of the way, normally we would wait for the bill to be adopted and then start, explaining how we're gonna implement it But then the government has decided that we were in a rush, and there's the, as you know, the conference on climate change in Paris at the end of December, and everything needs to be ready by that time. So basically there are two strategies, the low carbon development strategy and a multi-annual energy program. And I'm just going to focus on that one, because for the first time there's going to be one single instrument grouping together electricity, gas and heat, which wasn't the case in the previous program, which dated back to 2009, where there were 3 programs, one for electricity, one for gas and one for heat. There's only one. And it's going to focus on all the, usual issues, energy efficiency, savings, and there's going to be a first one between 2016 and 2018, and then two more for 5 years, over a 5-year period. So in this multi-annual energy program, I can't really tell you what's going to be inside specifically, because it is going on, and actually we gave out a contribution to the Ministry of Energy last week as to what we think should be inside. But basically the draft bill says that there needs to be, for district heating, a national strategic development plan, and on how to increase the share of renewable energy sources, recovered energy sources, that there needs to be synergies between with the electricity production through high efficiency CHP. So in parallel, so that was more the policy side. Now I'm going to speak about support and funding instruments, because there's also quite a lot going on at the moment and quite a few announcements that have been made. So first I wanted to talk about the reduced VAT. That's been going on since 2009, and that's for district heating networks that have over 50% of their supply with renewable and recovered energy. The heat fund, I mentioned it before, so that's also been put in place. That was also put in place in 2009, and that supports basically the production of renewable heat, whether or not it's through district heating. But about 2/3 of it supported directly or indirectly district heating development. So on a yearly basis, there was a budget of 200 million euro for it. And last week, the Minister of Energy announced that it would be doubled by 2017. So that is really a good news for district heating, as it's really an efficient tool. It's been a very efficient tool for district heating development, and the French Court of Auditors that audits financial instrument, public financial instrument, has said it was one of the most efficient financial instrument that the government had put in place to implement the energy transition. So together with this announcement of last week, there's an objective linked to it, which is 5.5 million ton equivalent of oil equivalent of renewable heat to be achieved by 2020. And as from now on, recovered energy projects and renewable cool energy project will be eligible to the fund, which was not the case before. There's going to be loans. That was announced at the end of last year. Well, during last year, there's going to be what we call green loans for local authorities, not specifically for district heating, but for the, to put in place to the energy transition in general. So they'll be accessible to local authorities through what we call the Caisse des Dépôts, which is basically a public institution. Then there's also been a kind of, there was a call of proposal last year on a new program that the government had put in place called Positive Energy Territories. It's areas that are ready to actually implement quickly the energy transition by trying to, how would I say it, produce as much as an energy as they use. And in February, the government announced the selection of 212 positive energy territories which benefit from subsidies of the government. I also wanted to mention a bit the same. We've got also a guarantee fund. Well, there's one that already exists, but the new one called Euroheat that was announced last month, and which is for the development of deep geothermal energy. So not specifically for district heating, but district heating project will benefit from it, and that should also speed up the development of this renewable energy source. I didn't mention the white certificates. We have a similar, of course, a mechanism in France, but it's being under review by the French government at the moment, so there's quite a lot of uncertainty. That's why I didn't mention it, but in the past it has also helped develop district heating and cooling. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Julie, giving us, let's say, a good view on what's happening with renewables and district heating in France. And now our last presentation of this session. Ulrika will tell us something about what will happen if all of us reach your market share in district heating, and well, you can tell us how to deal with this. Ulrika,
yeah, sure.
It's your floor.
Yes, I'm really impressed by all the support that you get from your governments on expanding district heating. It's really encouraging. We don't really have that situation, but as Werner said, maybe this is more a story of what will happen if you end up in a mature market. The support is, of course, quite different, but because it's not needed in the same way. So I will tell you a little bit about. I have more or less the same strategy as my previous speakers to tell you a little about the situation at the moment, and then also something how we see the future, the way forward. And some of this will be. I will repeat some of the things that was said from John Johnson yesterday, so I will go quickly through them because you already know about them, I think. First, this picture, just this is the situation right now. This is the heat market in the building sector in Sweden. You can see district heating is the dominant way to, district heating dominates the heat market. And I also wanted to show this illustration. Not so nice one maybe, but to say how does the market work? John Johnson yesterday told you a little bit about this, and this is the illustration how it works. This is how it looks, more or less, in general, that we have the market, the heat market is dominated by commercial customers. So you have, building owners. And there are about 300,000 of them, so they're not so many. And they buy about 57 terawatt hours of the heat. Then you have the consumer market, which is 2 million customers, and they buy about approximately 43 terawatt hours, so the rest. And this is the main picture how it looks, that if you have multifamily houses or public buildings, then you have district heating. And if you are a single family house, you usually have your own boiler, which could be a heat pump or oil or wood chips or something like that. And the market then is set that all customers can choose. So if you're multifamily houses, you could, if you're a building owner of a multifamily house, you could you could change to an individual solution. And also, of course, if you're a consumer in the right area, if you have a single family house, then you could go for district heating. So this is how the market is formed. the heat market, it's set, the price on the market is set by this exchange possibility. So that's why the district heating's price is challenged by individual solution, because they could change if they want to. And every year we have a few customers that leave district heating and go for individual solution, and some that come back that we lost. But of course it's not a rapid change, so it's really dangerous for district heating companies to lose customers, because it will take them at least 15 years to come back to district heating, I would say. So you cannot afford to lose customers. So that is sort of the foundation of how the market is set up. And that's been it's been a good situation for district heating. This is the development of district heating in the last 10 years, and also an illustration of why it's called a mature market. This shows, you can see here, 100% is on the y-axis here. It's 100% of the energy used for heating and hot water in Sweden. So of course, if you see at the middle bar, the sort of the highest ones, that's the multifamily houses. So you can see that it's been a growth the last 10 years from 83% market share to 92%. And that's so it is the most favored choice for house owners. But of course, if you have like 92% of all multifamily houses, not so many left. So the growth cannot be so big there, simply because it's not so many houses left to attach to the network. This is the entire Sweden, you can see here. The ones to the right, the little lighter blue, it's the public buildings. We used to have a little bit of a higher market share. We have some competition here, because if you have a more complex building, you will need both cooling and heating at the same time, so heat pump is a good solution for you. So that's a very hard competitor there. But still, it's about 80% of all public buildings in Sweden, so it's a big market share. And then you can also see the single-family houses, which has been around the percentage of the energy used for heating and hot water. So 17% is provided by district heating. And that is also a rather big share, because Sweden is a big country and people don't always live so close to each other. So I mean, building a pipeline to one single-family house, it's not so economically viable. That would, I mean, for this to change into substantial amount of that market, to get a substantial market share, that would need some serious policy changes that we don't see on the horizon. So this is the mature market situation that we have, and that's why maybe the heating, the building sector heating is not maybe where the future is. I mean, or that sort of is the foundation of where the strategies for the future are. You need to focus on the customers that you have, because there's not so many other customers to get, so you don't want to lose the ones that you have. And they will be your customers tomorrow, hopefully. Oops, that was the wrong way. Just this picture, I mean, it's been shown by others as well. This is just a fuel mix. It's shifted from the 80s until today, from 100% oil to many different types of fuels that you would have. And also you can see that at the moment it's mainly biofuel, so it's recycled and renewable and recycled energy for 80–85%. And this is, I mean, this is the explanation for this. The one thing that Sweden might be famous in climate negotiation. I mean, you mentioned the Paris meeting coming up, and this is where Sweden sometimes talked about that we made this. We decoupled the growth of GDP from the emissions of greenhouse gases, and that is something you can see in the numbers, and that many look to Sweden to. I mean, what did you really do? And I mean, for the people in the room, it could be nice to know that. I mean, the answer here is district heating. It's 85% of the explanation why we managed to decouple our energy growth, the economical growth from greenhouse gas emission is fuel switch in district heating, and also replacing individual oil boilers with district heating. So this is, I mean, it's mentioned a lot, and it's usually politicians, they like to say that this is due to the carbon taxes. Of course it is, but you could never introduce such a high carbon tax that we have in Sweden if you did not have a district heating system that could make the fuel switch without hurting the consumers. So that's district heating is the answer if anybody asks you why Sweden did this. And then something about the future. John Johnson mentioned yesterday that they made a big project on the heat market, and they made 4 scenarios for the future, what will happen from, I mean, today until tomorrow. And then they made these 4 scenarios about, first you have the slow development, which is more or less making a projection from where we are today until, and sort of going on the same way that we call the slow development. Then we also have the energy efficient buildings, which is a very strong trend that you will build like passive house, nearly zero energy buildings, and refurbish all the buildings that you have. So if you have a strong, strong driver for energy efficient buildings. There is also this very strong trend in Sweden that you would like to go to more individual solution, that consumers want to detach themselves from energy companies. And this is not just district heating, it's more in general that people don't like big utilities, so they want to have their own production of like PV and other stuff. I guess you know about that. It's the same around Europe, that if we would go strongly to more individual solution, then of course district heating would have some issues. And then also there's this scenario where you have more combined solutions, so you would have more heat pumps together with district heating and also some individual boilers. And if you look at that, then the situation for, I guess you cannot read all the numbers here. It's just an illustration to show that, I mean, we have 4 scenarios for how district heating would develop in Sweden. And the orange part is district heating here. So it's the district heating deliveries in the 4 scenarios. And you can see there that you have slow development, energy efficient buildings, more individual solution, and the combined solutions that are shown in the previous picture. And you can see, of course, that the delivered district heating in the future is very different from slow development, where you would have the same delivered heat as today, or if you would have the, I think, more individual solution is the fiercest one for district heating. You can see it's almost, down 40%, I think. So until 2050, which is the year farthest to the right on these bars. And how we look at this, the scenario, since the heat market is dominated by district heating, then which of these scenarios that we will have is also mainly depending on how the industry itself acts. If people are happy, if they are happy customers to the district heating, they'll find, okay, I don't care about the individual solutions. Or if we can achieve the same energy efficiency within our system, that could be done in refurbishing houses, then of course energy efficient buildings is not the as interesting option. So we of course have a major, in a mature market, being the dominant player, you have a major responsibility on which of these future scenarios you would get. So that's just, we could get all of these and we could get none of these, but it just shows how the future is in the hands of the industry itself. And that's also the foundation for the future. So this is, I just chose to show you 2 of the tools or the strategies that we have for the future. And one is this, the prisdialogen, the price dialogue, which is our main tool to have this dialogue with the customer. Because as I mentioned before, we need to focus on keeping the customers that we have. So sales to new customers may not be the main focus, but having the customers being able to have an impact on the price developments. Because this is local dialogue, so you have local negotiations, you could say, about the price and the price development, and also having customers having a possibility to impact the future price developments locally. This is what this is about. It's a system that is set up together with the customer organizations, which are rather strong in Sweden. So this is one, that you have a dialogue with your customers. It's one major strategy. And the other one is, contributing to energy efficiency and also a sustainable energy system. So providing the energy system or providing the answer to the policymakers on the transition of the energy system within the framework. And these are just the illustrations of the future sources of energy that we see. This you can see here on the numbers or on the pictures. It's a pulp and paper mill on the sort of the left, up on the left. You can see all this wasted energy. This is how it looked before you attached the district heating, attached it to the district heating network. It was attached to a district heating network just after this picture was taken, and you would not see as much smoke, or it's not smoke, it's vapor actually. Yeah, thank you. It's just vapor because it's so hot around when you make this paper. Then you can also see on the right hand side it's waste. We have a lot of waste, so about 20% of the energy mix is waste incineration. And then on the bottom you can see there's server halls, which is like the new thing coming up. They have a lot of the new industry that you will when you are making when you have these big server halls. And of course this is and you know this in this room, that recovered heat, recycled heat, I mean this is something we all talk about, but not so many others. It's a different concept to sort of get your hands around what is that, and that you could use energy many times. So we made a few movies to illustrate what we mean, and I just wanted to show you one of those. And it's in Swedish, and I think there's some sound here, but it's has some so you could read what it says in the bottom. What is it called? The subtitles. No? Subtitles. So this is the one.
Vi närmar oss Sveriges varmaste plats. Svenska ståltillverkaren SSABs anläggning i Luleå. Här jobbar 1200 människor dag och natt med att tillverka stål till hela världen.
Jättevarmt och skönt.
2 miljoner ton per år blir det. Och det känns att det går åt enorma mängder energi.
Det är ungefär 1500 grader varmt.
Så vad händer egentligen med all den här värmen när den har gjort sitt i masugnen? Det vanliga svaret i många andra länder hade varit ut till kråkorna, upp i atmosfären. Men hur rimmar det egentligen med den globala uppvärmningen och med att energi börjar bli en bristvara i världen?
Inga problem alls.
Nej, precis. För i Sverige gör vi inte som vanligt. På stålverket fångar vi upp spillvärmen och skickar den till ett fjärrvärmeverk. Där får den värma upp vatten, som sen pumpas ut i underjordiska rör till hela Luleå. Rören blir smalare och smalare och letar sig till slut upp i hundratusentals vanliga värmeelement. Så värmer sig små och stora Luleåbor med smält stål, till exempel på den här förskolan. Och så sparar fjärrvärmen el och olja, samtidigt som den återvinner våra gemensamma resurser.
Yeah, so we made a few of these movies just to illustrate what do we mean when we say recovered heat, and how does it contribute, because it's an anomaly that you would not need to use any resources for heating, and still that's the main thing that district heating can deliver. So I mean, even though we are in a mature market, I would say we need to explain this over and over again, and also because that's the key to keeping the market position also for the future, and being an answer for the future. And then I would just one picture on district cooling, because it's not all the years, but it's just an illustration. It's been keep growing. The district cooling in Sweden is the one thing that is growing fast, I think it was 6% last year. And we have about 1 terawatt hour, so it's about the amount in France I saw of district cooling. And I would just like to take this up because of the what's behind that. And for our situation, it's been really one of the major driving forces to phase out of the F gases, which is a major thing in the climate negotiation, but also in the EU. So I mean, when you have a more expensive cooling systems, then of course district cooling becomes much more competitive in the market, because this is also market driven and just expanded on its own merits. So I just wanted to show that we have something that's growing. So thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ulrika, for your presentation and also this impressive movie. I think this is a good example which we could use or make use also in other countries, so we can show where we waste energy and how we can make use of it. So now we have some more minutes left for questions, for discussion. So now the floor is yours for your questions, please. Just a moment to wait for the microphone, please.
Okay, that's better. My name is Astrid Mats. I'm from the city of Rotterdam, and I've got a question for Ulrika. You mentioned recovering of heat, and we have a lot of residual heat in Holland too, but there's in Holland a lot of discussion about reusing it, because the thing that's been mentioned, that they say, well, if you start using waste heat or residual heat, you stagnate basically the energy efficiency of the company. So you stagnate the process of making the companies more efficient with their energy at the first place, because now they don't have to do anything, because basically they can sell their residual heat. So do you recognize that, and how do you deal with that?
Does this work? Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I recognize the discussion very well. I think that discussion, that debate, has sort of silenced a few years ago, and that was based on many studies that were made. You can see it's actually the opposite. If you look at the facts and the research, then you would see that it's actually the opposite, because the industries, the pulp and paper industry, for instance, which is a common heat source provider, then you could see that they become much more efficient after connecting to the district heating grid. Yeah. And that is actually because you get some inflow of money into that. It's a value. It used to be something you needed to get rid of and pay for. And if you could sell it to somebody else, the value increases a lot. So you see that the industries that provide waste heat, they are much more efficient than other industries. And I think the numbers just speak for themselves, and so we don't have that discussion anymore. Even though we have the discussion with the Greens, the environmental organization, because they feel that if you're, a pulp and paper is fine because it's renewable, but for the steel plants, for instance, it's not renewable, and also for the refineries that are attached, and it's oil-based, and it's not renewable. And they say that you're attaching yourself to an old system that should be phased out, so you're supporting fossil industries, and that's a little bit more difficult, because then you would have customers, building owners, that don't want to buy district heating that comes from waste heat from a refinery. So it's even though policymakers don't have that discussion anymore, then customer organizations, they do still.
Thank you. Other questions? Yeah.
My name is Martin Hayek, Czech District Heating Association. I have also a question for Ulrika, and my question is, what is really the case for these super efficient buildings in Sweden, when all of the energy basically is renewable from district heating? So what do you do with all that biomass and all that renewable energy you have, in case this scenario realizes? So you are going to export wood to other countries, or what will happen actually? So.
Well, there was many questions in one. I don't know. There is a case for nearly zero energy buildings. We have a lot. We see a lot of those. I think it's same situation in Sweden as in the rest of the European countries, also driven by energy efficiency policies. So I wouldn't say it differs so much from other countries. But and what would we do with the biofuel? That's a big question. We have an ongoing debate on whether or not we have a lot of potential for biofuel and what you should do with those trees. But I think if we have something to spare, we could export it. But we are more concerned that we will not, that our pulp and paper industry or our forestry industry will go down, because you could not remove trees from the forest and have them as fuel. It's not economically viable. You need a very You need a good forest industry and a good also pulp and paper industry to somebody to take out that tree from the forest. So we could just use the residues. So no, it's not a big discussion.
Okay. Other questions? If not, we're quite in time. But up front, before I let you go to the coffee break, I just want to thank the speakers for their excellent presentations. Let's give them an applause. They've done well. So, and I think we can take home some ideas and some lessons learned from their examples, from their countries. I hope also that Tim can take some ideas from Italy and from France and vice versa. Well, thank you all for listening. And what I want to say is remember that next year our Congress will take place in Frankfurt. So you're all invited coming to Frankfurt. It's from the 19th to the 21st of April. We will have the International Trade Fair for CHP and the Congress for Heating and Cooling in Frankfurt in April 2016. And now, thanks again and have a nice coffee break.